My mother looked directly at me across the Thanksgiving table and said, "Well, at least Sarah actually made something of herself." Everyone kept eating. That's the part that hurt most, not the words themselves. I'd heard variations of that my whole life. It was the silence that followed, the way my father reached for more stuffing, the way my sister smiled into her wine glass, the way my brother-in-law cleared his throat and changed the subject to football, like I wasn't even there, like I hadn't just been casually erased in front of 12 people. I set my fork down carefully. I remember that detail because my hand was shaking and I didn't want anyone to see it shake. I pressed my palms flat against my thighs under the table and counted to 5. My mother was still talking. Something about Sarah's promotion. Something about the vacation home she was looking at. Something about grandchildren and success and everything I would never be. I wasn't listening anymore. I was doing math. Specifically, I was calculating how much money I'd transferred to my parents' account in the last 18 months. How many times I'd paid their mortgage when Dad's business was having a slow quarter. How many credit card bills I'd quietly absorbed. How many times I'd received a panicked call about property taxes or medical bills or car repairs. The number in my head was significant, very significant, and not a single person at that table knew. I looked around at their faces. My mother, holding court at the head of the table, gesturing with her wine glass. My father, nodding along, his shirt collar too tight around his neck. Sarah, glowing with the attention, her hand on her husband's arm. My aunt and uncle, uncomfortable but silent. The cousins, teenagers absorbed in their phones. This whole world that revolved around appearances and favorites, and who got praised and who got ignored. And it was about to collapse. They just didn't know it yet. I picked up my fork again and took a bite of turkey that tasted like absolutely nothing. "That sounds wonderful, Sarah," I said quietly. My mother glanced at me, surprised I'd spoken. Then she looked away again, dismissing me with a single movement of her eyes. That was the moment. That was the exact moment I decided to stop. Not to fight. Not to argue. Not to defend myself or beg for scraps of approval I was never going to receive. Just to stop. I didn't know then how much power that decision held. I didn't realize that silence could be the loudest possible response. But I was about to learn. To understand why that dinner mattered, you need to understand how we got there. My name is Emma. I'm 34 years old. I'm a financial consultant. And for most of my life, I've been invisible. Not literally, obviously, but functionally, emotionally, in every way that mattered to my family. Sarah is older than me by 3 years. She's a pharmaceutical sales rep, which sounds impressive until you realize she sells generic drugs to small clinics and makes about $60,000 a year. But she's married. She has the big house in the right neighborhood. She hosts book club. She posts perfect photos on social media. She looks successful. And in my family, looking successful was always more important than actually being successful. I learned that early. I was 7 when I brought home my first straight-A report card. I remember being so excited. I ran into the kitchen where Mom was making dinner, waving the paper like a flag. She glanced at it. "That's nice, sweetie. Go wash your hands." That same week, Sarah made the JV cheerleading squad as a 5th grader. We had a celebration dinner. Mom invited the neighbors. There was a cake. I remember sitting at that table, eating my slice of cake, trying to understand what I'd done wrong. I was 7. I thought if I just tried harder, I'd figure out the formula. I'd crack the code of what made them proud. So I tried harder. I was in honors classes by middle school. I won the science fair 3 years in a row. I got a full scholarship to State University. I graduated summa cum laude. with a double major in finance and economics. My graduation party was at Olive Garden. 8 people came. We were home by 7. Sarah's wedding had 200 guests and a live band. I'm not bitter about this. I need you to understand that. I'm really not. I'm just explaining the pattern, the dynamic, the way our family worked. Sarah was the sun. Everyone orbited around her. I don't know, background noise. The understudy who never got called on stage. And I accepted it. For a very long time, I accepted it. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was independent, self-sufficient, that I didn't need external validation. I built a career. I bought a condo. I had friends, hobbies, a life that belonged entirely to me. But the truth is, some part of me never stopped being that 7-year-old kid waving a report card, hoping someone would look. And that's the part they counted on. They never said it out loud, but they knew. They knew I'd always answer the phone. I'd always show up. I'd always help, because I was still trying to earn something I was never going to receive. The first time my parents asked me for money, I was 26. Dad called me on a Tuesday evening. He was trying to sound casual, but I could hear the stress in his voice. His contracting business had lost a major client. They were behind on the mortgage. Just 2 months, he said. Just needed a little bridge to get through the gap. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious, he said. I sent $3,000 the next day. They paid me back 4 months later. Not the whole amount, about 2/3. The rest just disappeared into the category of family, and we're all in this together. And we do the same for you. Except they wouldn't. I knew that even then, but I sent the money anyway, because that's what you do, right? You help your parents. They raised you, sacrificed for you, gave you life. You don't keep score. That's what I told myself. The second time was 8 months later. Property taxes. Another $3,000. Then it was the roof. Then it was Mom's medical bills from a procedure insurance only partially covered. Then it was the car. Then it was credit card debt that had gotten out of control. Each time they called, each time they needed help, each time they promised it was temporary. And each time I sent the money. By the time I was 30, this had become our normal. Every few months, there'd be a call. Sometimes from Dad, sometimes from Mom. Always apologetic, always grateful, always temporary. I never mentioned it to Sarah. I don't know why exactly. Maybe because they never asked her. Maybe because I knew she wouldn't help even if they did. Maybe because keeping it secret was my way of maintaining some small sense of control. Or maybe because some part of me thought it would matter someday. That eventually they'd realize what I'd been doing. That they'd see me. That the invisible daughter would finally become visible. I don't think I admitted that to myself at the time. But looking back, that's what I was hoping for. The calls increased over the next few years. What had been occasional became frequent. What had been a few thousand became more. I need to be clear about something. I wasn't rich. I made good money, low 6 figures, but I lived in an expensive city. I had my own mortgage, student loans I'd paid off aggressively, retirement savings I contributed to religiously. I was comfortable, stable, careful, but I wasn't wealthy. Every dollar I sent them was a dollar I'd earned through 60-hour work weeks and career choices that prioritized income over passion. I drove a used Honda. I didn't take vacations. I bought my clothes at outlet stores. I lived below my means specifically, so I'd have a cushion, and that cushion slowly became their cushion. By the time I was 32, I'd sent them over $40,000 in 18 months. $40,000. Mortgage payments, insurance premiums, credit card minimums, utility bills, car payments, medical expenses. I kept a spreadsheet. That's the kind of person I am. I tracked every transfer, every expense category, every date. I told myself it was temporary, that Dad's business would turn around, that they'd get back on their feet. But it wasn't temporary. It was a pattern, and patterns don't break themselves. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing your locations. Now back to the story. The Thanksgiving dinner happened on a Thursday, obviously. The next Monday, my mother called. I was at work, in the middle of reviewing a client portfolio. I almost didn't answer, but she rarely called during business hours, so I picked up. Emma, hi. Do you have a minute? Her voice was pleasant, cheerful, even like Thursday night hadn't happened. I'm at work, Mom. What's up? Oh, this will just take a second. So, we're looking at helping Sarah and Marcus with a down payment on the vacation property they're considering. You know, the one on Lake Burton. It's such a good investment. And they found a place that's just perfect. But we're a little short this month. And I was wondering if you could help us bridge that gap. Maybe $5,000? We can pay you back after the first of the year when Dad's next contract payment comes through. I sat there in my office chair, phone pressed to my ear, staring at my computer screen. The numbers in the spreadsheet blurred. You want me to give you money so you can give Sarah money to buy a vacation house. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds… How should I put it? There was a pause, a slight shift in her tone. Emma, you know your sister is at a really important point in her life. She and Marcus are building something. They're creating generational wealth. This property could be something they pass down to their children someday. We want to help them while we can. Right. And you're doing fine. You're established. You have your condo. You don't have kids to worry about. Sarah has different pressures. I closed my eyes. I can't help this month, Mom. Oh. Her voice went flat. I see. I have my own expenses right now. Of course. I understand. She didn't understand. I could hear it in her voice. I just thought, well, never mind. I shouldn't have asked. I know you're very focused on your career right now. That's important too. The implication was clear. My career was important too, but not as important as Sarah's marriage, Sarah's future, Sarah's generational wealth. I need to go. I'm in the middle of something. All right. Well, think about it. Let me know if anything changes. She hung up. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand. They wanted me to fund Sarah's vacation property. The daughter who had everything already. The daughter who got praised at family dinners. The daughter whose life was celebrated and photographed and held up as the model of success. They wanted me to quietly transfer money so they could give it to her. And I was supposed to feel good about this. I was supposed to feel like I was part of the team, part of the family, contributing. I opened my banking app. I looked at my account balance. Then I looked at my spreadsheet. $43,780. That's what I'd sent them since January of the previous year. I'd been covering roughly a third of their monthly expenses for almost 2 years, and they just called me useless in front of the whole family. I closed the banking app. Then I opened my email and started typing. I didn't send an email to my parents. That's not how I decided to handle it. Instead, I sent an email to myself. A list, a clear, itemized record of every transfer, every expense, every time I'd helped over the past 3 years. Then I saved it in a folder labeled Family Finances and closed my laptop. I didn't announce anything. I didn't call a family meeting. I didn't send a dramatic text message or write a Facebook post or do anything visible. I just stopped. The next time Dad called, it was 2 weeks later, I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Hey, Em. calling about the mortgage payment. We're coming up short about $1,500 this month. Can you give me a call back when you get a chance? I didn't call back. He texted the next day. Then Mom texted. Then Dad called again. I responded once. Can't help this month. Sorry. That was it. 3 weeks after that, Mom called again. This time it was the car insurance. They'd apparently let the payment lapse and were facing cancellation. Emma, this is urgent. We really need help with this. It's only $800, and if the insurance gets canceled, Dad won't be able to drive to job sites. I texted back. I'm dealing with some unexpected expenses. I can't help right now. There was a long pause. Then, what expenses? I didn't respond. That became my pattern. Minimal response. No explanation. No apology. No anger. Just absence. In December, Dad tried to call me 6 times in one day. I was at a client dinner. I ignored all of them. Later that night, I got a text from Mom. Your father is very stressed. I don't know what's going on with you, but this isn't like you. We need to talk about this like adults. I stared at that message for a long time. Like adults. I'd been bailing them out for years while they treated me like I didn't exist, and now they wanted to talk like adults. I put my phone face down on my nightstand and went to sleep. Christmas was tense. I showed up to the family gathering because Sarah would have made it a whole thing if I hadn't. But I showed up late and left early. I brought a generic bottle of wine and a store-bought pie. Sarah cornered me in the kitchen at one point. What's going on with you? What do you mean? Mom says you're being weird, that you're not returning calls. I've been busy. Too busy to help them? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her nails were professionally done. She'd just gotten back from a weekend in Charleston. Too busy to help them with what, Sarah? She blinked. I don't know. Whatever they need. You know they're struggling right now. Are they? Yes. Dad's business is. I know what Dad's business is doing. I've known for years. Something flickered across her face. Confusion, maybe, or the first hint of awareness that she was missing information. Well, I'm just saying. There are parents. We should help them. We. Yes, we. When's the last time you helped them? Sarah? She straightened. I help in other ways. I visit more. I'm involved in their lives. I have a relationship with them. Right. I walked out of the kitchen. I left the party 20 minutes later. I hugged Mom and Dad at the door. Stiff, formal hugs that felt like hugging strangers. Mom's eyes were tight. Dad looked exhausted. Neither of them said anything about money, but I could feel it. The unspoken tension. The thing we were all pretending wasn't happening. I drove home through quiet streets decorated with Christmas lights, and I felt nothing. No guilt. No anger. No satisfaction. Just empty. January came. Then February. I kept not helping. In mid-February, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Emma. This is Marcus, Sarah's husband. Can you give me a call when you have a chance? It's about your parents. I stared at that text for a full minute before I deleted it. 2 days later, Sarah called me directly. I answered because I knew she wouldn't stop until I did. Emma, we need to talk. Okay. Marcus and I are at Mom and Dad's house. We found some bills. Did you know they're 3 months behind on the mortgage? No, that was true. I didn't know they'd gotten that behind. I knew they were struggling, but 3 months was new information. They're about to lose the house, Emma, the house we grew up in. I sat down on my couch. That's serious. Yes, it's serious. It's really serious. We're trying to figure out how this happened, and they're being weird about it. They won't explain where the money went or why they didn't ask us for help sooner. Okay, okay. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say, Sarah? I want you to care. I want you to act like this matters. I didn't say it doesn't matter. She made a frustrated sound. Marcus and I are going to cover the back payments. We're going to figure this out. But I need you to help going forward. We need to split this as a family. Split what? The mortgage, the bills, whatever they need. We're going to set up a system where we each contribute a certain amount each month until they get back on their feet. I let out a long, slow breath. I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? I mean, I can't commit to a monthly payment right now. Why not? Because I have my own financial obligations. Emma, this is our parents. I know who they are. Then act like it. I didn't respond. God, you can be so selfish sometimes. You know that. You have your little condo and your little career, and you just don't care about anyone else. I closed my eyes. Is that what you think? It's what everyone thinks. You didn't even come to Mom's birthday dinner last month. You barely showed up for Christmas. And now you won't help with this. What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. Then prove it. Help us fix this. No. The word came out calm. Flat. Final. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm going to remember this. Emma, when you need something someday, I'm going to remember that you didn't show up for your family. Okay. She hung up. I sat there on my couch in my quiet apartment, phone in my hand, and waited to feel something. Guilt. Regret. Shame. Anything. But I just felt tired. 3 days later, my father called. Emma, we need to talk. Hi, Dad. Did Sarah tell you about the mortgage situation? Yes. She and Marcus are helping us catch up, but we need to figure out a sustainable plan going forward. We can't keep relying on them for everything. I almost laughed. Almost. Okay. So we were thinking you could cover utilities and insurance each month. That would be, I don't know, maybe $800 or $900. Sarah and Marcus are going to handle the mortgage payment. If we split it this way, it's fair for everyone. Dad, I can't commit to that. What do you mean you can't commit to that? I mean exactly what I said. I can't commit to a monthly payment right now. Why not? You make good money. I know you make good money. You've told us about your bonuses, your clients. This shouldn't be a hardship for you. I felt something then. A little spark of heat. How much do you think I make, Dad? I don't know. Over 100,000, right? And you think that means I can just subsidize your household indefinitely? Subsidize? That's a pretty harsh word. What would you call it? He was quiet for a moment. Then, I'd call it family helping family. That's what we do. That's what you do when people you love need help. Right. Emma, I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this attitude isn't acceptable. We raised you. We supported you your whole life. We put a roof over your head, food on your table. We paid for your education. You didn't pay for my education. I had a full scholarship. We paid for your living expenses, your car, your clothes, until I was 18. Then I paid for everything myself. That's not the point. What is the point? The point is that family takes care of each other. The point is that you don't just abandon people when things get hard. My heart was pounding now. I haven't abandoned anyone. Then why won't you help us? The question hung in the air. Why won't you help us? As if I hadn't been helping for years. As if I hadn't quietly, invisibly, consistently kept them afloat while they praised Sarah and dismissed me and called me useless at holiday dinners. I could have said all of that. I could have laid it out piece by piece, number by number. I could have sent him the spreadsheet, but I didn't. I can't have this conversation right now, Dad. I need to go. Emma. I hung up. Then I turned my phone completely off and sat in the silence of my apartment until my hands stopped shaking. If you're still watching right now, you're exactly the kind of viewer I love. Subscribe so I can keep giving you interesting stories like this. Hit that bell so you never miss what happens next. The email came 3 weeks later. It was from my mother. Subject line: family meeting. Emma, we need to meet as a family to discuss the financial situation and figure out a path forward. Please come to our house this Sunday at 2 p.m. This is important. Mom. I stared at that email for a long time. Then I started typing a response. I deleted it, started again, deleted it again. Finally, I wrote, "I'll be there." Sunday came. I dressed carefully, nice jeans, a sweater, minimal jewelry. I looked professional, calm, put together. I drove to my parents' house in North Atlanta, the same house I'd grown up in, the same house I'd been quietly helping them keep for almost 3 years. Sarah's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. So was Marcus's truck. I sat in my car for a moment, gathering myself. Then I walked inside. They were in the living room. Mom and Dad on the couch. Sarah and Marcus in the armchairs. A coffee table between them with papers spread across it. Financial statements. Bills. Bank records. "Hi," I said. "Sit down," Mom said. Not "Hi, honey." Not "Thanks for coming." "Sit down." I sat in the chair, by the window. Dad cleared his throat. "So, we've asked you here because we need to establish a clear plan for how this family is going to support each other going forward." I nodded. Sarah jumped in. "Marcus and I have covered the back mortgage payments. We've also paid the property taxes that were about to go into default. That's about $22,000 total. $22,000. About half of what I'd sent over the past 2 years. We can't keep doing that," Marcus added. He looked uncomfortable. "It's not sustainable for us." "So we need everyone to contribute," Dad said. "Sarah and Marcus have proposed a monthly amount they can commit to. We need you to do the same." I looked around the room, at their expectant faces, at the papers spread across the table. "Before we talk about that," I said quietly, "I have a question." Mom frowned. "What question?" "How did you get so behind on everything? What happened to the money?" Dad shifted. "The business has been slow. You know that. Construction industry is unpredictable. We've had some unexpected expenses." "For how long?" "What? How long has the business been struggling?" "A couple years," Dad admitted. "But we've been managing. We've been getting by." "How?" Silence. "How have you been getting by, Dad?" He looked at Mom. Mom looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at me with growing confusion. "What are you asking, Emma?" Mom said. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. I opened the folder I'd saved. The spreadsheet. The careful record I'd kept. "I'm asking how you've been paying your bills for the past 3 years. I'm asking where that money came from." "We've been managing," Dad repeated. "Credit cards. Some savings. We've made it work." "No," I said. "You haven't." I turned my phone around and showed them the screen. "I have. I've been making it work." The room went very still. Sarah leaned forward. "What is that?" "It's a record of every transfer I've made to Mom and Dad's account since January 3 years ago. Every mortgage payment, every insurance premium, every utility bill, every credit card payment." I scrolled slowly through the list. $47,300, I said. "That's how much I've sent. That's how you've been managing." Mom's face went pale. "Emma, you didn't tell them," I said. "You've been asking me for money for years, and you never told Sarah." "That's not." "Why?" Dad found his voice. "It was private, between us and you. We didn't think Sarah needed to know." "Why?" No one answered. I looked at Sarah. They've been calling me every few months since I was 26, sometimes more often, asking for help, saying it was temporary, saying they'd pay me back. Sarah's mouth opened, closed. You've been giving them money? Yes. For 3 years? Yes. Almost $50,000? 47,380, I said, give or take. Marcus leaned back in his chair, processing. Sarah looked at our parents. Is this true? Mom's hands twisted in her lap. We asked Emma for help during some difficult periods, yes. But it wasn't, we never asked for that much at once. It was just small amounts here and there. $1,500 a month isn't a small amount, I said. You were willing to help, Dad said. His voice had an edge to it now. Defensive. You never said no. You never said it was a problem. You're right, I said. I didn't. Then what's the issue? Why are you bringing this up now? I looked at him for a long moment. Because 2 weeks ago, you asked me to commit to another monthly payment. And you asked Sarah to help plan how this family would support you going forward. And nobody once mentioned that I've been supporting you for years. That's different. Mom said, that was you helping us. This is about establishing something official. So, my help doesn't count. That's not what I said. Then what are you saying? She didn't answer. I turned to Sarah. Did they ever ask you for money? No, she said quietly. She looked stunned. They never asked me. Did they ever mention they were asking me? No. Did they ever suggest we split the responsibility? No. I looked back at my parents. Why? This is inappropriate. Mom said, her voice was shaking now. This is family business. Private business. You're twisting this into something it's not. I'm just asking questions. You're making us sound like we used you. Did you? Emma. Dad stood up. Enough. This is disrespectful. We're your parents. We don't owe you explanations for every financial decision we make. You're right, I said. You don't owe me explanations. But you also don't get to call me useless at Thanksgiving dinner and then act confused when I stop subsidizing your life. The room went dead silent. Sarah looked at Mom. You called her useless? That's not. I didn't mean it that way. You literally said, at least Sarah made something of herself. I said, in front of everyone, while I was sitting right there. Marcus winced. Mom's face crumpled. I was just saying Sarah has built a good life. That wasn't about you. It was exactly about me. You're being too sensitive. No. I stood up. I'm being clear. For the first time in my life, I'm being clear. I looked around the room one more time. I'm not going to commit to a monthly payment. I'm not going to keep helping. I've done enough. Emma, please. I need you to hear me, I said. I'm not doing this out of anger. I'm not punishing you. I'm just done. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the daughter who helps from the shadows while you celebrate someone else in the light. That's not fair, Mom whispered. Maybe not, I said, but it's honest. I picked up my bag. Sarah stood. Emma, wait. Can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about any of this. I know you didn't. Then let's figure this out. Let's fix it. I looked at my sister, at her perfectly styled hair and her designer jeans, and her life that had always been celebrated and supported and centered. You can't fix it. Sarah, it's not your job to fix it. Then whose job is it? No one's, I said. That's the point. I'm not a problem to be solved. I'm just a person who's setting boundaries. I walked to the door. Behind me, I heard Mom start to cry. I heard Dad say something I couldn't make out. I heard Marcus's low voice, trying to mediate. I heard Sarah call my name, but I didn't turn around. I walked out of that house, got in my car, and drove away. And I didn't look back. That was 4 months ago. I haven't spoken to my parents since. Sarah texted me a few times in the weeks after, asking if we could talk, saying she understood now, saying she wanted to help me process this. I responded once, I appreciate it, but I need space right now. She respected that. Last week, she sent me a different message. Mom and Dad sold the house. They're moving to a smaller place. Marcus and I are helping them with the transition. I thought you should know. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "Thank you for telling me." She wrote back immediately, "Are you okay?" I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Yes, I wrote, "I think I am." And I was. I am. I'm not happy about what happened. I'm not proud of the way things fell apart. There's grief in this, real grief, for the family I wished I had and the relationships that never were what I needed them to be. But I'm okay. I'm building something different now. A life that doesn't require validation from people who will never see me. A sense of worth that doesn't depend on whether I'm useful. I'm just Emma, not the useless daughter, not the ATM, not the invisible one, just me. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. I don't know what happens next. Maybe someday we'll rebuild something. Maybe we won't. Maybe Sarah and I will find a new kind of relationship that's separate from our parents and their dynamics. Maybe I'll eventually reach a place where I can see them again without feeling erased. Or maybe this is it. Maybe this is the ending. I'm learning to be okay with not knowing. What I do know is this. That night at Thanksgiving when my mother called me useless and everyone kept eating, that was the beginning. Not the beginning of revenge. The beginning of truth. And sometimes truth is the quietest, most powerful thing you can offer. Even when no one's listening. Especially then.